Hey everybody, welcome to the MGF Podcast. This is episode 14 of the show with a temporary name where we talk movies, Lego, and whatever else. And joining me, of course, as always, is Tait.
We really do be out here with episode 14. 5 subscribers away from our first 1,000. That is awesome. Thank you guys so much for that.
Hell yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
So Tait, it's been a relatively slow week since E3. Big things that have happened have really, in my life anyway, just mostly consisted of turning 21, being confused by whatever the hell the love is for alcohol, and then otherwise there really hasn't been a lot going on, but we're gonna get through our limited topics list with you guys, and then maybe do a little bit of gaming for the second half of the show, so bear with us. But Tait, to get started, last week toward the tail end of E3, like at night, I forget what day, I think it was June 10th or something, I don't know, but either way, Marvel with of course Crystal Dynamics and Square Enix unveiled the new Avengers game after all these years, and we got our first look at it. It's happening. They had a whole presentation ready to go. Full marketing campaign has kicked into gear. I mean, it's happening. May 2020. First cinematic trailer came out, and a lot of people took issue with it.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that it looked an hour about this. I mean, there was a big outlash regarding this. I mean, it was big, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, man, and I get it. But at the same time, I really do believe that we really just have been spoiled by the MCU. Yeah. You know, I can get where people are coming from with some of these designs. Granted, they're not the best character designs we've seen for the Avengers. I think that would be,
you know what? I'm going to go off on a limb.
It's not deserving of that kind of praise.
I'm going to say that Captain America, the Captain America we see in this game, the Square Captain America, this might just be my favorite Captain America I've seen, because of the fact, Ross, he's wearing straight up ballistic armor. I mean,
yeah, unpopular opinion, dude. That's the one people have the most issue with. Yeah,
opinion, but like, here's the thing: the MCU one, how is that bulletproof? I mean, this really does look heavy duty, dude. I like the way this looks.
Yeah, I really don't get it, because I think he looks great. It's honestly, I don't have an issue with the fact that, and I love it how we're just going like straight into the criticism first. This game looks amazing, by the way. Just say that first. Okay.
So here's the thing, guys.
It looks really good so far. Just to say that up front.
The thing with Square, guys, is that they make beautiful, beautiful games. Crystal Dynamics and Square. And this game, I know that a lot of people are getting weird vibes from the facial structures of the characters. It's so good that it's uncanny valley, and I think it's so good that it's bad, if that makes sense.
I don't know if I would go that far. I don't know if they look that good. I mean, if anything, I think there are comparisons to be drawn, to that post that kind of was made popular about, how Injustice 2 looked 10 months out from its launch versus how it looked at launch. I think this game is definitely going to be another example of that, where it just looks miles better of what's ultimately being shown here. So once it comes out, right, this time, in May next year, it's going to look pretty great. I have to imagine it's going to be Spider-Man PS4 level, if not better. And so for me, I totally sympathize with where a lot of people are coming from, because we have gotten so used to the Marvel Cinematic Universe for the last decade. It is ingrained into our brains, the main cast. Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, ScarJo, Mark Ruffalo, and to deviate from that and to kind of like so abruptly and bluntly remind the world that they are not the only version of the Avengers, I think took a lot of people by surprise, because people are, especially after Avengers Endgame, people are more emotionally connected to the MCU than ever before, than possibly they ever will be. And so this is kind of odd timing, and just unfortunate timing to drop a whole new version of the team in front of people when they're just barely, saying goodbye to the original 6 from the MCU.
Right.
But personally, for me, I've always been accepting of that delineation between the Avengers that we know of the MCU and other versions that can be, whether they be from the comics or shows or wherever they come from. In this case, Crystal Dynamics game. And so for me, this wasn't jarring. I thought it was kind of cool to have a new version of the Avengers. Sure, they're not ever going to be as good as the MCU, but it's a pretty cool take on the team, and I'm looking forward to it. And I think Cap looks really cool.
They'll just be different.
Yeah.
Like I think it's unfair to say one's better than the other, at least at this point, right? Because we don't know these characters yet. But Ross and I guess we're the kings of unpopular opinion, because we don't hold Endgame to as high of a same as a lot of people do. I mean, we love Endgame. Don't get us wrong.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's my biggest project that I'm working on right now. So.
Right, but we're super optimistic for this game, unlike a lot of other people, and it's just a funny dynamic to see kind of play out. But what Ross is saying rings completely true in my opinion. That I mean, we're so connected. Our generation grew up with the MCU, right? They're all we know of Marvel characters. So this can be jarring for some people, but like Ross said, I mean, I agree with him. This is a new take that I'm personally looking forward to. Spider-Man PS4 was freaking great, and if they can bring the same quality, if not higher quality, to this game, I'm on board completely.
And if they could even connect the universes, if these developers, if these different individual studios can work together to create some kind of through line, some kind of basic understanding, some basic continuity, and they could just communicate with each other, because
we already have some, because in Spider-Man PS4 he said that the Avengers were on the West Coast, and we see the Golden Gate Bridge in the trailer. So
yeah, and no, yeah, man. I mean, they're in San Francisco. I mean, the trailer opens with our new Tony Stark, saying "Hello, San Francisco." I mean, they're on the West Coast, just like Peter implied in PS4. So I mean, the opportunity's there. One thing that might break that is Taskmaster is seen in this trailer looking a lot different than he does in Spider-Man PS4. So that's the one thing that kind of might ruin it. And confirm the contrary. But I'm looking forward to it, man. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing how these characters are going to look 10 months from now. Because I think there are definitely improvements to be made. Listen, if anything, I think Cap, Black Widow, and Tony are the best character models out of all of them.
Yeah.
And it's actually, for me, again, unpopular opinions, I actually think it's Bruce Banner and Thor that could use more work.
Well, I'm gonna say I definitely think Cap is the best in my opinion, 100%. I think that they nailed Captain America, both with the mask off and the mask on. Black Widow, to me, I don't know why people are saying she looks like a dude. She has a strong jaw. I guess that's what it is.
Yeah.
She's not Scarlett Johansson. She doesn't have to be as pretty as Scarlett Johansson. I think Iron Man's armor looks really cool.
She looks fine.
It's really comic inspired. His helmet, especially.
I love the armor for Iron Man. It is just like, it's the perfect combination of the comic suits and RDJ suits, and it does a great job of reminding you that this is not, the same Iron Man, by really adopting the classic look from the comics.
Absolutely, yeah.
Really cool, man.
Thor looks funky, dude. His head looks funky to me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I totally agree. They need to fix up Thor.
Thor's gameplay though looks the most fun because it looks like a hack and slash game. It looks like a God of War.
Yeah, and I did see some of the leaked gameplay. Yeah.
Speaking of which, this game is 4-player co-op, and we have not gotten a co-op game that's 4-player co-op in such a long time. That's actually a good story-based game. I mean, the only thing that comes to mind is like Lego games, Ross.
I absolutely cannot wait to see how this plays in co-op. This might be one of the greatest co-ops games ever.
I know, genuinely. I mean, this is Marvel Ultimate Alliance 4, essentially. Because and they said that they're already going to add more heroes to the roster. So I mean, this is going to be. I mean, Avengers co-op. Are you joking? Like, can we just talk about that for a second? Like, regardless of how the game looks, right? I mean, Ross, I know for a fact you and me will spend hours and hours and hours just playing through this game.
Oh my god.
I mean, dude.
And this trailer also immediately opens up what could be a larger universe for the Avengers and for potentially Spider-Man PS4 if this winds up being a cohesive universe. Because, I mean, the whole reason the helicarrier goes down is because of, like, a Terrigenesis core that it's running on. Yeah. Which is, of course, directly implying Inhumans and setting that up. And we haven't even gotten started. And that's exciting, man, because it's subtle, but it works. Absolutely. And, and of course, the big concern coming out of it, there were two things. Number one, everybody was wondering where's Hawkeye, and listen, again, that links back to what we were saying at the start, where it's like the Avengers as we've had them, while the original six have essentially become the new standard for what is to be expected of the Avengers roster. The Avengers roster doesn't always have to be, and it certainly isn't always the same thing in the comics. I mean, and so a
No,
lot of
right
people
now
are,
the
who are arguing
comics.
like, if you're arguing that Hawkeye shouldn't be there, it's like, well, if you want to really revert back to source material, then Captain America shouldn't be there either. It's just,
Right.
and that's always just a really stupid conversation to have, if you ask me.
Here's the thing. I mean,
The
like you
idea of
said
like who should
earlier.
be on the Avengers team.
Like you said earlier, dude, people are just way too used to the original.
Yeah, man. I mean, look at Hawkeye in the MCU. I mean, he really has struggled to be relevant in the movies up until
Oh my
arguably up
god, that
until
Endgame. Oh my
Endgame
god.
is his best movie, hands down.
Oh my.
Um,
I mean that was they respected
oh
that
yeah,
character so much.
but I mean, but you had to kind of wade through the first Avengers, Age of Ultron, where they really forced an entire story on him. But it was good. It was very good. Just took up a lot of screen time. And then Civil War, he barely had a strong enough reason to be there, and so Hawkeye doesn't have to be there. Is the point I'm making? And so him not being in this game doesn't have me wildly upset or concerned.
You know what
I
has me wildly
I would
excited?
yeah.
Hank Pym is in the game. Ant-Man is.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the four original Avengers were Thor, Iron Man, Hulk, and Ant-Man, and we get
And I
Hank
love it
Pym
too
in
because
this
like
game.
Hank Pym and that reveal is another great jarring example of this is not the MCU. I mean, Hank Pym in this game looks like freaking Simon Pegg. I mean, or at least that's who he reminded me of. And I'm excited, man, because I've always been curious to see what a modern interpretation of Hank Pym Ant Man would be like, and it looks like this game's going to deliver on that, and so I'm looking forward to it. Now, they said the game is not going to include loot boxes or anything, mischievous like that. No loot boxes, or pay to win microtransactions, but there will still be microtransactions. They haven't elaborated as to what, but obviously you can assume that at least part of those microtransactions are definitely going to be cosmetics and different skins and costumes if maybe you don't want to work your way up to earning them yourself. Um, which is fine. I mean, Battlefront 2, it works on Battlefront 2. It
It
works in
works
a
in
lot of
most
other games.
games. Yeah,
Yeah,
overall.
so that's fine.
I think.
Um,
Well, I think microtransactions in this game will be based on new heroes, DLC heroes. Don't you
and
think?
listen, Tate, I mean, yeah, I'm sure, but I mean, it's like if the game is good, I will gladly invest little bits of money here and there long after the release. If a game it delivers that much, if a game delivers a lot of fun, excitement, and joy, then $5 or $10 here and there every so often, I don't mind. Honestly, I really don't.
Dude,
Um,
I will buy the shit out of any character they add. I mean, I'm a completionist, and I will play
if the
through
game is
this game
good, yeah,
over and
man,
over.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Um,
Dude, oh my
and
gosh, just imagine we get like all the DLC heroes come out, and then the final DLC hero is just the Peter Parker from Spider-Man PS4. Think
what's
about
exciting about
that.
this Tate is they could do literally anything with this game.
Oh my
I'm
god.
really excited to see just how much they're going to do with this first game because obviously they can't do everything, but they're going to I hope they take a nice sizable chunk, like they give us a nice big bite into what this series can be to really kickstart it like Spider-Man did.
Absolutely.
Um, and now, of course, the big concern that everybody had was okay, spoilers if you haven't seen the reveal trailer, but the idea is that Captain America dies on board the helicarrier
That's a
during the San
bummer.
Francisco Avengers HQ launch. But listen,
I want
man,
to add real
you
quick,
have the whole
Ross.
Marvel Cinematic Universe, and you can have another version of Cap just come through a portal. You can do whatever here and have Cap back in the game. It sounds like he will be back in the game,
What's gonna
and
happen
I
is
you can play as him too.
what's gonna happen, Ross. At least in my idea is that because of the fact that it's a four-player story-based game, right? He's gonna be the reward for completing the game, right? Like, okay, here's your reward for playing through this much of the game. Now you unlock Captain America. I think is how it's gonna work.
I don't know.
That would be my idea. I wonder if they're gonna do because I mean, just having the same story but with different characters, I think will get bored after a little while. I wonder, or will get boring after a little while. I wonder if they're going to do some sort of arena mode or survival mode or something. I
Yeah, because the
imagine
way you're
like
describing, at the same time, like I don't want this to be like essentially live action looking Lego Marvel superheroes where you can just swap characters in the story.
right. So
That sounds really weird to me.
yeah, I think that sounds awesome personally because I'm such an Ultimate
Okay.
Alliance fan. But I could definitely see why that sounds weird. Um, I do want to say though, what if it's like a horde mode, but you're playing as because I mean, what is it? Ultimate Alliance has a horde
Yeah,
mode,
man,
not a horde
that would
mode,
be
but like
fine. I'd be totally down with that, sure.
just a zombies mode, but not zombies, and you play as the Avengers. I mean, that'd be awesome. That'd be lots of fun.
Yeah, man. And I mean, this trailer, I mean, just in the sizzle reel toward the end where you got Thor on board a ship, I mean, crashing down into the night sky toward a city, that looks phenomenal. I mean, looks like Tony going into space in a silver suit. That looks amazing.
Yeah,
I mean, Hulk versus Abomination, they're already doing a lot with this first game. I'm really excited for it. Um, I mean, and I hope it'll be great because
absolutely.
I would love to make figures for it if I'm not too burnt out on Avengers figures by this time next year. Because if this winds up being anything like Spider-Man PS4, dude, if it reaches the same level of quality and the same level of passion that was derived from Spider-Man PS4, because Insomniac just absolutely loved the game they were making so much.
I don't
If
think we're gonna see
it's
that
been
kind
a
of passion
similar,
again. I mean, dude, when
if
you look at Insomniac, I mean,
yeah,
that's not normal. That's the amount of respect and passion they had is just not the norm.
yeah, and I mean, and if we can't get that here with Avengers, I think it would be a shame. But at
Yeah,
the same time, what can you do? Well, we don't even know. We don't even know yet.
yeah.
But either way, there's also another big reveal that, of course, last podcast we kept it going throughout the big
Oh
Xbox press
no!
briefing.
Russ was gone by 30 seconds.
Yep, I stuck around for an hour and a half after we were out of topics and hadn't and been done talking about stuff. And then right as I was heading out, they dropped the Halo Infinite trailer, and I was like, "Oh my god!" But I'm also kind of glad that I didn't see it live because I don't know that I would have had that much of a reaction because I certainly didn't have that great of a reaction watching it, and that hurts for me to say because, of course, this is a hefty topic to even delve into a little bit,
Yeah, unpopular
but
opinion warning.
yeah. So essentially, just to kind of preface I'm a huge Halo fan. I know I haven't really been bringing Halo to the channel much in recent years. I only had one Halo showcase, and it was like in 2016 after Halo 5. But Halo has been really was a huge part of how I developed as a teenager and just really who I am. And it's a franchise that I love dearly. I mean, Halo means the world to me and is my favorite game series, full stop. So what happened in 2014 and 15, we were being advertised a game and a campaign, a story that was going to be amazing because Halo 4 was arguably really amazing. And for me and a lot of my friends, I really, Halo 4 delivered. And so Halo 5 had its first trailer, E3 2013, really cryptic and really seemed like they were going to be doing a lot with the story of Cortana, the Ark, and maybe even the Forerunner AI from thousands of years ago, Mendicant Bias. They were setting things up there. They had a series of other trailers that came out, E3 2014 with the Master Chief Collection, setting up Halo 5 again, and this new Spartan Locke, who was going to apparently go toe-to-toe with Chief and was a Spartan 4 who actually had the balls to go up against him and try to stop Chief from whatever he was trying to do. In Halo 5, we didn't know, and there was all this mystery surrounding the game, hunt the truth, who was right, who was wrong. That was the marketing campaign of the game. And they released some of the greatest live-action trailers we've ever seen. And they were really delivering on the marketing, and it really seemed like it was going to shape up to be the greatest Halo game of all time. And then it came out, and it was not. It was a crying shame, and it was really. I don't want to go too far into it, but basically, the amazing story that they were promising us through all the trailers and everything leading up was not in the game. and it wound up being a total lie, essentially. They had major issues behind the scenes and apparently brought on new people to rewrite. I don't even know what happened, and I don't care because it really rubbed me the wrong way. And as a longtime Halo fan since 2009, it really shook me because they went from Halo 4, pretty much delivering on 80% of their promises in that game to then releasing the second game and delivering on 30 to 40% and just really releasing a game that was suffering from an identity crisis. And it was a very similar situation to The Last Jedi. This is our middling game. This is the middle of the franchise. This is our second to last movie with Master Chief. I was kind of trying to draw a comparison to Last Jedi. That's why I said movie, but second to last game with Master Chief, and they blew it. They blew it. I won't go into it, but basically, the basics. Spartan Locke was a stud of a character. The villains were terrible. Cortana was handled really poorly. I mean, Chief and Blue Team was laughable compared to what has already been established in Halo canon and with the critically acclaimed novels. And so to get to this trailer now, and I even had this problem like last year, because last year after a couple of years of them skipping E3, they come out with this new engine reveal. Here's Halo Infinite. This is what it's going to look like. It was just them showing off the new engine. That's what it was. And it looked great. The engine looks great. And they showed that they're going to be reverting back to a classic art style, and they threw some nostalgia bait in there, kind of reminding everybody of Halo 1. They played the classic tone, showing some Forerunner, hard light beams going up in the sky. Dun, dun, dun. They really tried to tug at the nostalgia strings, and I wasn't buying it. Because they showed us in 2012 that they could deliver on their promises, but then in 2015 released a half-baked, god-awful garbage campaign with Halo 5. And I'm not even talking about the multiplayer, but multiplayer was also disappointing for me for a number of reasons. And so to get here now, after all these years, to E3 2019, and to see this new Discover Hope cinematic that they released, no gameplay either yet, because they're obviously still working on it, I was really underwhelmed. Because while there is a lot to chew on here, and Tate, I don't think you would remember any of these trailers that I'm going to list here, but like the first Halo 4 trailer in 2011, when they announced Halo 4, it was amazing. You saw there was so much there. Master Chief had new armor. He was waking up on Forward Unto Dawn. They were entering a shield world. There was a new Forerunner threat, and we had thought all the Forerunners were gone. So what are the enemies going to be? What's going on? What's the story? What's the galaxy like? There was something to look forward to, and the same can be said for all the Halo Reach trailers that came before that. And so then, again, Halo MCC trailer in 2014, you had all these amazing trailers at all these various different E3s for Halo. And this one of Chief being found by this pilot who's stranded on board a Pelican, bringing him in, dropping him down, and being excited that they're going, there is stuff to get excited about in this trailer. But again, it's more of, this is what the game's going to look like. Please buy into our nostalgia bait. Because Chief looks just like he did in the classic games. We are using the classic music again. We've got the one-liners for Chief. And we've got a Halo ring that's seemingly destroyed. Get excited. And listen, man, it does look great. It didn't deliver the same excitement or the same wonder that I was looking for compared to previous E3s. But it does look very good. And I am excited. Because, of course, Halo 1 through 3, that's a trilogy that that's once in a lifetime. And it's something that that me and so many other people hold really close to our hearts. But it's like, this so far, this did nothing for me in the way of assurance that this is going to be any better than Halo 5. Because Halo 5 had a great marketing campaign too, with all kinds of cryptic trailers that really got us excited for what was going to potentially be a galaxy-wide threat that Chief may inadvertently cause, trying to bring back Cortana. Or there's something else going on. He's being misunderstood by the UNSC, and they're hunting him down with this new Spartan Locke, and as he's on the run with himself and Blue Team. And and all these forerunners are being woken up around the galaxy. It seemed like it was going to be an amazing story, and it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, here now it's just like, here's a brand new shiny engine. We're reverting back to the new art style, but this again could be another lackluster story, and I can't get excited for that because this could also be the Master Chief's final game. They've always advertised that Halo 6 would be the last entry for the Master Chief and in the Reclaimer trilogy, beginning with Halo 4. But now Microsoft seems to be advertising this as the next chapter and a soft reboot, when really I think they need to end Master Chief's story with this game, and it's starting to seem like they may not. And everybody's really falling in love with this new pilot character, and yeah, I think he's great too. I'm liking him so far too, and he reminds me of Cassian Andor, and I think he's awesome. But who's to say he'll even be in the game? Or he'll even be as good in the game? Because Halo 5's marketing campaign, Spartan Locke, I mean, the dialogue he was delivering with Chief in those trailers was great. I mean, if I link you after this, Tate, to the Spartan Locke trailer for the Halo 5 advertising, I mean, he seemed really awesome too. And he wound up being a wooden plank in the actual game. So I can't get excited for any of this. I can get cautiously optimistic. But I can't, using the classic sound effects for his shield recharging, using the classic music and reverting his armor back to essentially the Mark VI inspired by Halo Legends, it looks amazing. But I can't get excited for a game now just based on visuals. They needed to offer at least a little bit more in the way of story for us to really believe that this is going to be great. And so, as a Halo fan, I'm excited for Halo Infinite to some extent, but again, only cautiously optimistic, because this really just didn't do a lot. And if anything, it just added confusion to Halo's canon as well, because of course Master Chief has had a certain set of armor since Halo 4 now, and in Halo 5 as well, and now he's reverting back. And in this game, they're seemingly using old Pelicans. The pilot himself has an old UNSC logo on his patch. They're reverting back to the art style, but I'm hoping that it's not going to be coming at the cost of continuity in the universe. Now, spoilers for Halo 5, the game kind of ends where the AI kind of sort of begin to take over. And so maybe it can be argued that the reason things look older again is because new tech was kind of AI dependent in terms of repairs and development. And so they're kind of having to go back on what they used earlier on in the Covenant War that was less AI dependent. And that would make sense, and I would totally accept that. But otherwise, man, they've given us an emotionally driven teaser here that has offered us nothing in the way of story. And for me, the story is what matters most. And so I'm looking forward to it. Of course I am, as a Halo fan. But I just really felt so betrayed by Halo 5 that I can't jump up and down over anything that they show. And that's it, man. That's it. That's my Halo rant. It's just a lot of disappointment. A lot of cautiously optimistic disappointments. But anyway, Tate, I don't know what your take is, because obviously you're not that, too big of a Halo guy, because I know you've only played Halo Reach. So.
Well, Reach worked, and it wasn't about Master Chief, so that's my 2 cents. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, they could just do that again.
Yeah, I mean, and Halo Reach wasn't a revolutionary story by any means, but what did really work was connecting you with the characters and the circumstances they were faced with. It wasn't Shakespeare. It wasn't a, super in-depth narrative. It was just, and that's really all you need with Halo 2. It doesn't always have to be massively complex. And I'm not looking for a massively complex story. I'm just looking for Halo 2 to drop this identity crisis and to once again take this new engine, take this new art style, and craft a great game again. Because that's what Halo 4 was for me. Not everyone. Halo 4 was very divisive and very controversial. But for the most part, Halo 4's story I thought really delivered. And I just hope that they can get back to that, because I know a lot of the people that worked on Halo 4 are not at 343 anymore. And we'll see. We'll see. But I was expecting more from this trailer, to say the least. So.
Ross really do be out here like, I've been a Halo fan forever. And then Tate really do be out here being like, uh-huh.
Yeah, man, because it's just
I
you've
don't
got
know anything
because
what you're talking about, dude. I'm gonna be
because
honest here.
I want to join in with all the other Halo fans online that are getting so excited by this, that are really, biting in on this nostalgia bait that was featured so heavily in this trailer. But I can't do that because to me the story just is too important to just blindly accept a new engine and nostalgia bait, because that to me that's not what Halo is about, and it's very similar to Star Wars. After we saw the Force Awakens in the Last Jedi, you don't see as many people just readily accepting what we're seeing with the Rise of Skywalker. And I'm not just talking about like radical fans that we see who are constantly making YouTube videos about it and just and not stopping or just incessant, but I mean just fans like you and I, Tate, who are looking forward to it, but know there probably won't be a good story there.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, Ross. You can't complete. You know, right now, Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, they're the first act, and we're just gonna skip the second act entirely, essentially, and just move on to the third, and that's just unfortunate as a whole.
And I mean, it was just so atrocious to me because Halo 5, it was like they had this major death scene with Cortana in Halo 4. It was one of the greatest scenes in the franchise. And then a few missions into Halo 5, they bring her back through comm chatter. I mean, then you had Blue Team, the Spartans that were absent from the first three Halo games, but were still alive and were basically Master Chief's family that he just doesn't discuss in the first three games, but they're featured heavily in the books of his life story, and they're a big deal. And then in Halo 5, they're just there. They don't have chemistry with Chief. They don't seem like a family. They just seem like friends who tagged along. And they have nothing to say along the way. They barely know Cortana. They weren't there for the first three games, and so it just they felt very out of place. And those are big characters, arguably much more iconic than Noble Team. And then you had the Didact, this great new Forerunner villain from Halo 4, killed off screen in the comics, and then he just wasn't there in Halo 5. And you had this really crappy villain, Warden Eternal, and then they turn Cortana into the antagonist because she accessed the domain and just wants to stop all fighting and all war across the galaxy, and so she's just going to take over, like straight up communist style with the AIs, and they had Locke again, like I said, who seemed like he was going to be a great new character, and they just he was just a blank stud of a Spartan. There was no big fight between him and Chief. That wasn't even in the game. There was a brief and minor confrontation where they get a little physical. I mean, then the gameplay was all very repetitive, and the whole story, every time you're playing as Chief, is just Cortana saying, oh, I'm right over here, and I'm and just it's just Cortana dragging you along until you finally like meet her and face her at the end of the game. It's like you're playing a goose chase with Cortana for this, and there are so many other things about Halo 5 that were just so wildly disappointing. The new Spartans they introduced alongside Locke, Vale, and Tanaka were really awful and not really great characters, and they try to force their backstory down your throat through comm chatter. And then freaking Buck from Halo 3 ODST, iconic ODST, now turned Spartan a few years later, was also forced into the game. He doesn't even know these characters, and he just winds up on Fireteam Osiris with Locke, and there's just all these crazy, awful story decisions made. And even it got even worse with the Arbiter 2. They set the Arbiter up like he was going to have this big story, and he was going to have a big major part in it. It was the return of the Arbiter. And then you get to him in the game, and he's just like, what is the meaning of this? Why are you here? Totally contradictory to the trailers. And just all of this combined was just so disappointing for me. And so I can't get excited for anything that they really show until we actually get the game. Because Halo 5 looked really great up until launch. even the beta played pretty well, and then it just wasn't as good in the actual game for multiplayer. And so I want to be excited with everybody who's really been buying into the trailer. But after Halo 5, I just can't be so blind about it again. So that's it, Tate. That went on for way longer than I wanted it to. Are you still there?
Oh, Ross, we had an issue. We had an issue with the. All right. Anyway, guys, for context, Ross and I are using PlayStation Chat and Discord in order to make sure that all the audio is working fine. And essentially, Ross, you just cut out for like a good minute or so, and I had to restart my PS4. But we're all good.
Oh,
now.
Cool.
We're all good.
Awesome. Well, anyway, just kind of, I guess since my audio cut out straight minute, great, good to know.
It didn't cut out for the podcast though, because the Discord was.
Oh, you just couldn't hear me.
Right.
Okay, gotcha, man. Well, hey, yeah, that about concludes my Halo rant. That went on for way longer than I wanted it to. It's just I'm really passionate about Halo, guys. Like, honestly, for me, it really just kind of goes Star Wars, Halo, Marvel, and that might be surprising for a lot of you, but I mean, Halo matter. It means a lot to me. Halo was just such a really an insult to the rest of the saga that I just can't buy into whatever this is right now, because again, they've offered nothing in the way of story and given us no reason to believe that the story is going to be any better and that the campaign is going to be any better than what we saw with Halo 5, which was just really, really bad. So, anyway, that's going to do it, Tate. Are we out of topics?
Well, we do have one more to talk about for like 3 seconds, because, I mean, there's not much to say. But, Ross, take the floor.
Yeah, so Star Wars Celebration Anaheim got official dates just recently. It is going to be August 27th through the 30th. So that is kind of a little bit of a ways into the semester. So that might be complicated for people who have classes around that time. But yeah, guys, of course, I just got back from Star Wars Celebration Chicago and had one hell of a time. And it's crazy. You know, I honestly, I did think it was going to be a little bit sooner. But now they've announced that it will not be in the spring for the first time in, several years. So it's going to be in the fall of next year, over a year away. And it's exciting because, of course, Tate lives only an hour away from Anaheim. And then Andrew Vu from AV Figures, I think, lives only 30 minutes away. So that's really exciting because that makes it a lot easier for me to hop on a plane and, travel across the country because, of course, it'll be a lot easier when you have friends that live right there because you're not having to worry about hotels. And, it's just a matter of just driving a little ways every day to get to the con. And I hope that there's a lot going on Star Wars-wise by August of next year. Because there are a lot of people that were kind of concerned, like if they do another spring celebration, there may not be a lot to show. And especially, right after Rise of Skywalker. So we'll see. I'm not even going to begin to speculate about what they're going to be revealing over a year from now. Who the hell knows? I mean, it's been changing a lot in recent years. I mean, every celebration where we think there's going to be a big new movie reveal, there usually isn't. So I wouldn't expect Celebration Anaheim to really necessarily deviate from that. But we'll see. It's over a year away. I'm certainly going to try to make it out there. And I hope I'll catch some of you there in over a year. Because Chicago and Orlando were both really amazing experiences. And Celebration is always an experience that you really kind of carry with you for like the rest of your life if you really make the most out of it while you're there. And yeah, man. So it was a great time in Chicago, and I'm looking forward to finally going to Celebration with Tate in a year.
In other words,
you excited, Tate?
In other words, ladies and gentle gamers, the boys will be taking on Star Wars Celebration.
Yeah,
Boys
man.
really be out here stunning. I know I'm gonna personally dress up like Ahsoka Tano in the most revealing outfit I can. I don't know about you, Ross.
Yeah,
But that's my plan. That's my
dude.
cosplay. AV,
Dude,
AV
I
with his
will.
clone armor? Nah. Me as Ahsoka? Yes.
Dude, I was thinking about maybe rocking some Bib Fortuna shirtless. Hell yeah. Oh,
Wait.
yeah,
You
dude,
know
it would be legit.
the Rancor trainer, the big fat Rancor
Yes.
trainer. That'll be my cosplay, dude. I'm gonna put on some weight
Hell
before
yeah.
then.
Oh,
I
man.
better hit up McDonald's right now and get started.
Hell yeah, dude. So,
Well, I do want to say thanks to
yeah,
the
I
four
mean,
people watching. I know that we kind of like changed up the date and time of the podcast. It's just Ross and I have been very very busy with our lives, and we still of course want to bring the podcast out weekly, but we're sorry for
yeah,
the
I mean, the
inconvenience of having a
podcast,
different
it's
time.
it's still very much we're still very much in a prototype stage. I know it's been a very long prototype stage, but I mean, this podcast is slowly growing to where we want it to be. And one day, I'm sure we will get to a point where we do have a day locked down, where the podcast goes up on said day, and we will eventually get a name and I guess proper marketing going because of course I really haven't been advertising it too much on my main channel, mostly through Instagram and Twitter. But yeah, I appreciate you guys like they said bearing with us as we suddenly just changed the day. Uh, but yeah, otherwise, Jessica Jones season 3 just had final season go up. Its third season. So rip Marvel Netflix. It's been an amazing run since 2015, and it's sad to see the arguably the best working actors to play these roles potentially have to say goodbye to them forever if Disney chooses to recast whenever they're legally allowed to start anew with these characters. But
Speaking of which,
yeah,
Ross and I were talking earlier about the introduction of X-Men to the MCU, and that can't happen for a long time. They need to, in my opinion, they need to kind of ease us into it with Deadpool, give him some cameos and references in mainline MCU movies, and then introduce X-Men. But we can't
yeah,
introduce
because
characters that have just been done. I mean, not the Defenders, not the X-Men.
and it's a shame, man, because it was a great cast and a great series of movies, and then they basically just accidentally made another one that never should have been. And it's not a great film. It has some great character moments, but that's it. Um, and it's hard to watch. It's a very boring film. I don't know what Simon Kinberg was thinking, but I to see it end like this, it barely made any money on its first weekend. I mean, and then it saw an 83% drop.
Holy. Okay, so for context, guys,
I
this movie
mean,
took
oh
$200
my
million dollars to
god.
make, right? Wasn't it something like that, Ross?
Something like it was 200 million, yeah.
Yeah, and they've only made $53 million.
And I
That's
can't it's really sad, man, because that brings it up to I think like only 50 million for a superhero movie with the X-Men. It's like
the X-Men, the biggest things. I mean, when you think about it, guys, our parents grew up reading the X-Men. The X-Men were the biggest thing in the 70s and 80s. They were
and
huge.
it just boy, Fox really did themselves in with this with the X-Men before handing them over. I mean, they really just kind of handed, they just kind of, you know, they sold the house and then just, hacked it to pieces before actually handing it over. And it's like this sucks because God, do I want to see the X-Men and the Fantastic Four fully realized in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but with a stigma like this now attached to the X-Men brand, Marvel just it's not wise to
It's
introduce the X-Men in the foreseeable future. Now, it's different because dropping the Amazing Spider-Man and then just quickly introducing Tom Holland 2 years later is different because Spider-Man is like Batman. You can make however many bad movies you want, but there are just a handful of superheroes like Superman, like Spider-Man, Batman, Wonder Woman that will survive whatever you throw their way. The X-Men are not mainstream like that. They are not the biggest superheroes known. No, Tate. I mean, when you think about the whole world, the globe, if you go somewhere, you go to the most random parts of the world and you think superheroes, people are going to immediately bring up Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Spider-Man. Right. Those are the four. Well, the X-Men are not, and granted, the Avengers are now among that too, and have inched their way into that, almost godlike, iconic superhero mantle. But the X-Men were never there. They never even came close.
Yeah, no, 100%. I do want to say though, I mean, look at knockoffs. What do they make knockoffs of? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Spider-Man, Batman, Wonder Woman.
And so I'm saying,
so
it's not the same thing.
No.
People like the X-Men, but they don't like the X-Men like they like Spider-Man or Batman. You recast Batman, people are still showing up. You recast Spider-Man, people are still showing up. They're just in a different realm than the X-Men. But you butcher the X-Men, and people don't care. People don't care after that. Everybody loved Days of Future Past, and they needed to call it there. They needed to call it with Logan even. Logan should have been it. And the fact that they dragged it on like this made this extra couple of movies, Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix, and really dragged the X-Men name through the mud. They ruined it for Marvel. It would be very unwise for Marvel to bring in the team. Like, Marvel's going to have to start from the ground up several years from now. It can't be where they're not. I don't think they're going to be able to do a Civil War, where in the same movie they introduce Spider-Man and Black Panther. I don't think they can do that for the X-Men because it's just not going to have the same wow factor. Because they just are, because of these movies, because of what Fox has done here. And so I think you need at least 5 or 6 years before you can do the X-Men now. At first, I was like, okay, they can probably sweep Dark Phoenix under the rug and it's fine. But this box office return is so laughably bad and so atrocious that I think this headline is going to make the rounds more than the actual movie did. And it's going to essentially create this stereotype around the franchise now because of how bad the movie wound up being. It was barely a movie. And yeah, man, it hurts, man. This is kind of a depressing podcast.
Yeah. But like I said earlier, if you introduce Deadpool slowly, and let's say, we have the Deadpool movie that comes out next year, whenever that's supposed to come out, right? And then slowly introduce Deadpool, give him one-offs, give him, like just have him fourth wall break randomly in the middle of an Ant-Man movie. Something like that. Work our way towards X-Men through the lens of Deadpool. And I think they could do it, dude. I really think that would help a lot.
Yeah. I think Deadpool, because Deadpool, he's not a part of this. Yeah, we were talking about this before the podcast. I think that Deadpool is the one character that you could throw in, not in a Spider-Man movie, but in another ensemble movie.
Yeah.
Just something else. I do not want Deadpool showing up in a Spider-Man movie right now. I really don't. They're not there yet.
No.
Maybe,
I can see it.
I mean, there's too much to unpack with Spider-Man as he is.
Dude, just have him. Okay, you know what would be awesome in Far From Home? If they just had his phone ringing and it said wait on the phone and he canceled the call or something like that.
Yeah.
I'd
be fine with that.
Small things, right? I mean, we already know that what's his name is staying on. Ryan Reynolds is staying on. Bless his soul.
It's just like
he's staying on.
Tate, when you've got all Spider-Man's characters, I mean, all of his characters, I mean, MJ and Gwen and Miles and his entire rogues gallery of iconic villains. I don't want to get to Deadpool right now. I want to see those guys first. I want to see all the characters.
Craven.
Like, I want to see all of Spider-Man's best characters fully realized first in the MCU before we go anywhere near Deadpool. And so, like you said, a phone call is fine, but it's like I would also want to see Peter with Daredevil before we see him with Deadpool. For me,
I disagree with that one. I think Deadpool before Daredevil, because of the fact that they did a really good. I didn't watch the Ultimate Spider-Man TV show with Drake Bell as Spider-Man. I didn't watch that, but I watched the Deadpool episode, and dude, they accomplished something really special there. And I think if they can achieve that again, but on the MCU, like in the MCU, and just have Deadpool harass Spider-Man for a little while during a team-up movie, I mean, I think that could be big. I think that could be really big. But before we see full-on X-Men, dude, I'd want to see the Defenders, or like at least Daredevil, be put into the MCU. Daredevil first, Fantastic Four second, X-Men third. That's kind of my idea, at least. Bring us Ben Affleck as Daredevil again.
Oh no!
How bad that would be, dude. Oh my god.
Hey man, you could now with the multiverse. God, let's not.
Oh jeez.
Anyway, I think that's gonna do it, Tate.
Yeah. That a shorter podcast today, but we didn't have much to talk about really.
Yeah, pretty sparse on topics, and honestly, like I was saying, sorry guys, it was kind of depressing. It was like, we're excited for Avengers. Halo might be bad, so don't get excited just yet. And also, X-Men is ruined. It's like, great.
Oh, jeez.
Really great topics today. Well, anyway, hopefully next year will be a little bit brighter. And happy Father's Day.
Yep, happy Father's Day, or Mother's Day too if you don't have a dad.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy day.
Go give your dad a kiss on the cheek, whether regardless of anything, and just say, "Papa, thanks." Yeah. Tell him that Ross and Tait sent you.
Do it exactly like that.
Don't do that. That's kind of what.
No, don't.
I'm tired, guys. So
we need to end the show.
Yeah, let's just call it. Anyway.
Thank you for sticking around, and we will catch you next Sunday at around this time.
Remember, guys, we are inevitable.